we have new merch for sale. We haven't done merch for a while because I was weirded out by the trash garbage that a lot of these companies make. We finally found a company that makes one that is the real deal. Okay, look at this horse merch. What more could you want in life? Get it for your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mom, your dad, your friend, or any weirdos who love wearing clothes with animals on them, aka the people that like to sit alone at parties and not be talked to. This is a great way to get people to be like, I'm not even gonna, I'll let them come to me. I promise that if you have a hoarder in your life you can't seem to find the perfect taxidermy statue for, the new Good For You merch will do the trick. Amazing quality. No children lost fingers or got cobalt poisoning during the making of it. You will receive your sweatshirt, your long shirt, your short sleeve shirt. You'll get it in about 4 weeks, completely free of children's tears or fingernails. The merch is not Chinese trash, just the perfect top if you're white trash. Today's guest is comedian Kathy Griffin. Don't panic, it's not going to be a big libtard festival. Even though I don't even know if I'm liberal at this point. Like, liberals went so far off the cliff that I feel like I'm like in the middle now. I'm like, you guys, do we need to offer manicures to boys in kindergarten? Like, we're first period? Like, does that need to be a part of the curriculum? I mean, I don't know. Maybe wait, you guys want to get rid of squirt guns because it's toxic masculinity? I'm lost. You want me to ask my unborn baby its gender and if it wants to transition in utero? I guess I'm not liberal anymore. I'm just confused. Anyway, luckily none of this stuff comes up. She has so much wisdom. She's insanely resilient, interesting insights on what makes us unlikable, likable, lots of interesting showbiz stuff. She's learned a lot about when to bite your tongue and when to not. I really hope I learned something from this. Enjoy Kathy Griffin. Bap, bap, bap.
Action.
Action coming in hot. Does hearing action make you kind of, I make him do that because then I'm like,
I like action in almost any scenario where I'm even half working. Like, seriously, like I've been in situations where I've had my friends say action to order from, McDonald's. I respond. I'm a lights up performer.
I'm so Pavlovian. Like, I was working with this trainer a while back and I was like, when you need me to do something, can you just say action?
Yeah.
Because I know that I'll like become the show pony.
That means what, 15 reps?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It's
All
like,
right.
I'll just know that's what I need to turn on.
Yeah.
All
right. Can we talk about your pregnancy?
Sure.
Okay. So I want to address can I break the fourth wall like moonlighting?
Please, of course.
Okay, good. So I went to visit Whitney's animals because I wanted some animal therapy, and because Whitney was no help at all. But thank God for an alpaca, which was actually an emu, but she's not educated in a traditional way. Anyway,
it was a giraffe for the first 30 minutes.
I'm famous, and that is a pass. And so I saw her picture on Instagram.
You're like, I feel like I'm back in Michael Jackson's Neverland.
So I thought that you had posted a picture with a distended stomach as a bit. When I visited you, you had a shirt tucked in jeans, and I swear you were not showing. So I go home and I say to the husband, I told you it was a bit. It was a bit. She's not pregnant. And he's like, why do you think that? I go, she didn't even mention it. Like, it didn't even come up. So I feel like an asshole that I didn't even congratulate you on your bit, which is now going to be a precious angel from heaven.
The worst part is that you didn't think the bit was funny. At least
I thought it was a solid bit. Not your best bit, but I thought it was solid.
I was 2 months pregnant when I found out.
Okay. Are you?
That's
like a TLC show.
It is
That's I didn't know I was pregnant, which, by the way, please bring that back because I know TLC never misses this podcast.
Which here what I will say is touring in Saskatchewan, Canada is the same symptoms as being pregnant.
Okay.
I was like nauseous. I was tired.
Yeah.
I
have a double tonight.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was eating out of vending machines and I was like, didn't you notice? Weren't you nauseous? I was like, yeah, well, I was in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. That's how we roll there.
Yeah. So I just kind of didn't put it together. And then she was like, you have a full baby in you. I was like, wild.
I'm just wrapping my head around full as an adjective. Like a full baby. Phew, that is a load off my mind.
I mean,
I don't know about you.
I got pregnant naturally at 40. Like, I'm convinced it's a vaccine injury.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even.
It's side effects.
I'm like this. I got the Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I heard you got pregnant from ivermectin. That's what's going around on TikTok.
So it's I'm being very awkward about it because I also feel like when women get pregnant, they always act like they're the first person to ever get pregnant, and I don't want to be one of those people.
Yeah.
So I just like do these people like, are you pregnant? I'm like, yeah, no, we don't need to talk about it. Like, let's just see. We're not there yet. We haven't crossed the finish line yet. Let's just not,
How many kids did your mom have? How many siblings?
2.
Okay.
2.
That's that. I'm Irish Catholic. That's shit. 2. My mother, and this is a fact, my dear departed mother was the youngest of 16. Change your face right now because you froze.
I can't.
Change your face right now and react to that.
I just can't.
The youngest. So imagine going through this 16 times.
I don't.
You know why? Because the Lord baby Jesus told them to just hated them and resented them very much.
Did they all get along? I mean, that's
it was such an Irish, it was such a Frank McCourt book that, is that the right McCourt? I know there's 2.
I don't know.
The Angela's Ashes. It was such that book that they weren't even alive at the same time.
Wild.
And a couple of them died in old timey Irish Catholic ways. It was just so. Are you going to set yourself on fire?
No,
no, I heard that was your thing. I heard that you're like, if the podcast isn't going well, I ignite myself. Igniting has never gotten old. So just be safe.
Dude, whatever hair extensions I put in today do smell weird. So I do want to get that candle. I think these are the old Jessica Simpson ones. Remember the ones you couldn't apply heat to?
Yes.
But wait, so that is a lot of the reason why people used to have so many kids was in case some died, you had enough to run the farm.
Yeah.
Did you come from farming stuff?
We came from drinking stock.
Sure.
And drank a lot. And then I will say my grandparents came over on the boat steerage. Oh, which means because my grandparents were born there, if Trump gets elected again, I think there's some shady way I could get Irish dual citizenship.
Ooh.
Although I don't know what I would realistically do in Ireland for 4 years, but it's beautiful. I visited there once.
It's gorgeous.
But I do like thinking I have an exit plan. And Canada won't take me. I tried.
Really?
Yeah. I tried to buy a house in Canada, and there was so much mishigas. And sometimes I talk like I'm Jewish. I'm not.
I'm into it.
I could pass.
I just found out I'm half Jewish in December. I know.
And you have a full baby?
I know, full baby, half Jewish.
So how Jewish is the baby?
Half of a half? Or I don't know if I'm the, I guess.
If you're the mother, the baby's Jewish.
Have you in therapy at all dug into ancestral trauma stuff?
Yes.
Deep Ireland, the stuff we carry, the guilt, the shame, the unfinished business?
Because I think about the guilt my poor grandmother must have had. And by the way, I was only alive for one grandparent. They were all died off by the time I was born. Because I'm what you call an accident baby. I don't know. What?
They call me a surprise.
Oh.
Yeah. And then when they realized I was brunette, they were really bummed.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But too much surprise.
Because I'm 13 months younger than my older sister.
Oops.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But when you're in an accident, and I know a lot of people that were the youngest were fine, you kind of know.
Yeah.
I feel like I knew at a very young age. I had to earn my keep. I felt like I stressed my mom. I felt like there wasn't enough room for me, and I had to kind of shapeshift and make myself a chameleon in order to fit in.
Yeah.
I knew at a very early age, I have to be entertaining. I have to be fun. I have to be needless. I have to be self-contained. I have to be an overachiever. I have to be perfect. I can't add any stress. I remember so vividly going up to my dad. He was always watching SNL, always watching, comedy, which I think part of the reason I was like, I need to get in the box.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to get him to see me. And I went up to him and I remember saying hey, Dad. And then he was like, hey. And I remember thinking that didn't go well. I remember thinking, regroup, try a different approach.
You were bombing and saying hello.
100%.
Yeah.
And I remember going that didn't go well. And then the next time I was like, hey, Daddy. And it just, that was it. That was it.
Yeah. No, I think that's why I'm a performer as well. Also, both my parents worked full time. So I was also what's called a latchkey kid.
Yep.
So come home from school, let myself in, watch a little something called the after school special.
Catch on fire, trying to make yourself lunch.
Thank you.
The whole thing.
I also had an eating disorder, which means even at that age, I would get a Jiffy cake, and they used to make a cake for one. Jiffy frosting, mix it up. And I would have yellow cake with chocolate frosting, and I would buy a can of Pringles because they were new and revolutionary at the time. And we thought they were potato chips, not potato crisps.
Right.
I don't even know if there's any potatoes in Pringles, but probably. And that would be my salty sweet thing. And then I was so wrecked that I would take the garbage from it. I didn't barf, but I would take the garbage and go to the neighbor's garbage can so my mom wouldn't see the Jiffy box when she got home because mom came home first.
Oh,
I know.
When did you know when you had a disordered eating?
No, I think, and what's funny is I didn't have the kind because I wanted to be thin. I just had an overeating disorder.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't a purger. I was just an overeater, and then I would starve myself,
Mhm.
but it still was like the same. And I think I just was lonely, and this was my friend.
Yep.
And like I said, in front of the TV, the schedule was like, I think I used to watch like Peyton Place, like if that was even still on when I was in grade school. But like, I remember having my shows
Yep.
and looking forward to, and I was, bored and frustrated in school. I didn't love school except the social aspect.
Yeah. If you have a quick mind, school is just too boring.
I rarely had classes that I even was like excited about. I was terrible at doing homework. I used to watch TV till 2 a.m. every night and fantasize about being on TV and, like you said, in the box.
Same.
And obsess, and then obsessively wanting to be the sidekick. I didn't want to be the pretty girl. I was like, the pretty girl's great. Her name's on the title, but the sidekick tells the jokes.
That's all the cute clothes.
Rhoda,
That's all
Phyllis, Ethel.
I know. I always wanted to be Janet from Three's Company.
Yeah.
I
I want to be Mrs. Roper. But I was 10. I'm just saying I was 10.
So it's interesting. I'm hearing do you feel like not a lot of people talk about neglect? And I'm not accusing anyone of neglecting. It's just sort of, I had a mom that worked a lot. I'm glad I got to see her work ethic. I know I absorbed a lot of it. It didn't even occur to me that you didn't work a bunch of jobs.
By the way, at the minute you could. So I got the worker's permit at 15, had a job in a local store. And then on 16, I was like, I don't even need a permit. So 100% our family was like, the minute you're 15, you get a job somewhere.
Did you feel like the eating was like a loneliness thing?
Yeah. I lived straight up filling the void, like quite literally. And also, look, I was a McDonald's kid.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if you were breastfed, but my mother believed in something called Similac. And it's a powdery substance that I believe one puts with water. And it was just...
What does tips on your nail?
I don't...
It's shellac.
And I guess she just put it in the bottle, and I was a Similac baby. And so I really only knew junk food, honestly, until I was like 18 or 20.
So your tolerance for sugar was probably really high.
And because they both worked, it was, here's $1, go to McDonald's, and you could get a whole meal for 95 cents or whatever.
Yep.
And so our family was like a big sweets family. My mom didn't cook. So for when we had a rare family dinner, which because they both worked was maybe Sundays, maybe once a week, and she made hamburger helper. So my birthday would be hamburger helper and a Betty Crocker cake for my birthday, and she would make a lemon cake with lemon frosting. But I didn't even know there was a way to make a cake that wasn't a mix. Like I thought the mix was scratch.
Right.
I didn't know some ladies, the dumb ones, breastfed and made cakes from flour and
those
other
topless
sorted whores. They were dirty whores. And so that was it.
Similac. They still make it.
Well, see?
This is it. Similac Total Care Infant Formula with prebiotics.
See? What's
our closest
the problem?
formula to breast milk. They're not even like it's similar. This is our closest shot.
I can top it.
Please.
My mother would get hammered on her box of wine, and then she used to pride herself on saying, and those goddamn doctors when I was pregnant with you, Kathleen, they gave me speed to keep my weight down. And that's why you're like this. That's what's wrong with you. And by the way, she was being honest that piece of shit doctor used to give women speed to try to not have baby fat.
Wow.
So my mom was like a speed freak when she was pregnant. And that's what's wrong with me. And that's why I'm wrong.
And is speed like amphetamines?
Oh, yeah.
Back then, like what Adderall would be today?
Yes.
And they would just...
But by the way, I don't know if it was even more powerful than Adderall or less. But yeah, it would be like taking street speed, like amphetamines, like dolls, as they used to call them in Valley of the Dolls. It was like what became like Black Beauties or speckled eggs or...
Right.
I don't even know what you call it these days, but I would have... Yeah, it's definitely Adderall.
And at the time, that was just like a vitamin or so. It
was like part of the regimen, the prenatal care.
And it's crazy to think, because I remember I have, friends whose moms like, oh yeah, we were encouraged to smoke while we were pregnant because it would calm us down. It would help us take deep breaths. And it would, so I always think what are the things we're doing today?
Yeah.
That in 30 years, we're going to look back and go like, what am I doing right now?
iPhones.
Yep. That's it.
I mean, it's going to be someday they're going to go, what were you thinking?
Insane.
You didn't know phones could kill. It's going to be something where people are going to be appalled.
Yes.
What's happened to the stories that were everywhere? And I, remember watching Oprah's about this, entire Oprah's, where if you held your phone up here too much, you got cancer.
Mhm.
That was a big thing for years.
Yep.
Like people going on 60 Minutes, like that kind of went away.
RFK used to defend them.
boy.
I'm not getting into
Oh,
his
boy.
politics. I don't know enough about it, but he, as a lawyer, I'll talk about him as a lawyer, not as a
Yes.
candidate, defended a lot of people in those exact cases, talking about that
Yeah.
exact thing.
But I just don't know what happened to that. So either they were just wrong or they bought their way out of it.
Yeah, and then I've got this strap that I carry my phone around on a strap at all times
Yes.
because I feel like I'm always going to lose it.
Yeah.
And so it just hits right on my uterus.
Okay. Well,
So-
it's just banging up against your uterus.
Yeah, so-
By the way, Jesse's here, my attaché. Can you go online and find that strap? Because I have a strap for my phone, but it's too weak and it like falls off
I
sometimes.
actually might have one
That's
you can
like a
take today to
belt.
borrow in the meantime. This is bandolier,
Yeah.
and it's got my credit cards in it. It's this whole, everyone makes fun of me, but guess
No,
what? I never
it's
lose my
great.
phone.
Yeah.
Never
it's
lose
great.
it. And then also, sometimes when you have to take a photo and you don't have anything to put it on,
Yeah.
you can turn it upside down, hang it on something, and then take the photo.
Oh, yeah.
So it kind of doubles as a tripod. Sometimes I'll be in venues if I need to take like
Yeah,
a crowd
yeah.
work video, I'll just hang it in the back, on a mic stand or
Yeah.
something, and you can video. Oh, hey, y'all. So last week, you probably noticed that we did a big merch drop of sweatshirts that have horses on it. And you're thinking, how could Whitney, a person who almost exclusively wears clothes from thrift stores and gas stations with horses on it, who does the ha-has and the hee-hees for a living, who spends most of her time arguing with male comedians, know how to work such a high-tech merch business? Is she some kind of genius? Did she have her robot do it? Is she having an affair with the CEO of the internet? What gives? I'll tell you what gives. Shopify. When we were launching the new merch and had to set up the way to sell it, I almost gave up, y'all. I almost went to pigeons. I was like, yes, pigeons. All this is terrifying to me. Let's just give it to a pigeon. They'll fly. We'll put a little laser beam on them. I don't know. I'm pretty much great at putting a design of a horse on a thing and picking the fabric. When it comes to how the pixels talk to the ones and the zeros, I got nothing, y'all. But I was quickly calmed down by my web guy going, hey, idiot, we're going to be using Shopify to sell your merch. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide. And now I know why after using it last week. It's a dream. No tricks, no scams, where it makes you use zip files or GeoCities or some madness. Whether you're a garage entrepreneur or an IPO ready, Shopify is the only tool you will need to start, run, and grow your business without the struggle. Shopify puts you in control of every sales channel. So whether you're selling satin sheets from Shopify's in-person POS system or offering organic olive oil on Shopify's all-in-one e-commerce platform, you're covered. I don't know why I keep burping, sorry. And once you've reached your audience, Shopify has the internet's best converting checkout to help you turn them from browsers to buyers. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US, and Shopify is truly a global force powering Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and now Dork Rodeo, which is what I've decided to call the Good For You line. Changed my mind. And millions of other entrepreneurs of every size, over 170 countries. I didn't even know there were that many countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Whitney, all lowercase. That's $1 a month. That's insane. Go to shopify.com/Whitney to take your business to the next level today. Shopify.com/Whitney. Do it. Go get rich. The easy way.
Wait, can I just toot my own horn?
Please.
Because I'm sorry. Someone told me a story that I'm just going to be really corny and touch me. And it's going to sound like an asshole because she should be telling the story about me, which would be cool, but I can't. So I never really met Melissa McCarthy. Even though we were both in the Groundlings, I was just in a much earlier era. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know she was from the Groundlings at first. I just thought she was an actress. Then I found out she was in the Groundlings, which is a comedy improv group here in Los Angeles. And I cycled through there and I got to work with like Phil Hartman. Like I got to work with some amazing people. And then I was there for a long time and stuff like that. So anyway, I see her yesterday at a party, and it was kind of a big party, so I didn't want to like monopolize her. But we were just chatting for a minute, and I go, you were Groundlings, right? And she's like, Kathy, the first Groundlings show I ever even went to, they were doing an improv about a shirtless gym, and the guys took their shirts off. And then later in the scene, you burst in with your shirt off from the door. And it got this giant laugh because you had this like silly bra on or whatever. But she goes, I want to be her. And I signed up for the classes Monday. And I was like, what? And then I said, can you maybe tell that story in 60 minutes? Would that kill you? So I'm just going to tell you that story because I am very much owning, I'm 62 years young, and I'm trying to step into my grand dame phase of my career.
Love it.
Right?
Love it.
So next is the moo-moos.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could, because of my age, I think I can get away with a lot of politically inappropriate stuff.
Yes.
Like I can have like gay boys in neckties.
You can actually do like whatever you want.
Right?
Yeah.
Because,
I'm thinking like turbans?
Yes.
Maybe.
A turban.
I
can have like an eyelash on my cheek by mistake.
A bindi? Oh, you can have a cut on your face.
Yes, I can have just mysterious lacerations. Yeah,
you can have a stigmata. Right. No one will care.
I have already started this. When I go to a restaurant, I can't help but call the servers hun and honey.
Oh, sweet peas. I'm already at sweet pea.
I'm already there.
Okay.
And
color contacts?
Color contacts would be great.
Like a lilac?
Knee-high pantyhose.
Love it.
Knee-highs with a nice comfortable sandal.
With a sandal, with like a Gautier bejeweled sandal. Very
with like a low chunky heel.
Betsy Johnson.
Because honey, I can't do that pitch anymore like you young gals. I can't be pitching my feet in 5-inch heels. Those days are over.
No, I don't.
I want a low chunk and a lot of jewels.
That ended when I bought a house.
And I can also over jewelry.
You can do earrings
on top
necklace,
of and
bangles.
A cuff, several rings. Maybe even like a what do you call it when you're going to punch somebody? Like
brass knuckles.
I could do brass knuckles.
Yeah.
With my name on them.
Oh yes, because you're a brassy.
Maybe. What if it's time for me to go from Kathy to Kitty? Kitty Griffin.
Well, then
Kitty Griffin at the Mirage in Las Vegas one night only.
Can I tell you,
Kitty Griffin.
Kitty is really working.
And by the way, Kitty gets to do whatever she wants.
And
like if I'm in the diapers and there's leakage too, so what? I'm Kitty.
So
that's how Kitty is. Kitty leaks. So what? She's been through the mill. She's been in so many rodeos she forgot to count.
Kitty was literally bred in a puppy mill.
Kitty was raised on speed that her mommy took. And her mommy was the youngest of 16. Give Kitty a break. Do you like how I make my grandmother's issues my own?
Well,
I have no children.
If it's one thing, it's your grandmother.
Thank you.
If it's not one thing, it's your mother.
Do you have any more advice for Kitty?
I feel like Kitty, if we're going from Kathy to Kitty, I don't know about the moo-moos. I think we're at capes.
Oh.
I think we're at full capes.
Okay.
The moo-moo, maybe your housekeeper can do the moo-moo, maybe. But if we're in Kitty territory, I feel like we're collecting dolls.
Yeah. Oh. And then I get in that Demi Moore mafia.
Yeah.
And Marie Osmond. They're both doll people.
Really?
And no, the best is when you'll see them photographed at a doll mafia convention, and they're real. There's a real mafia, and they always have them in like Ottumwa, Iowa. And Demi Moore is there looking like the youngest person Ottumwa's ever seen, and Marie isn't far behind going, ha ha, because Marie's got the crazy laugh. She's not afraid of good time. You know Marie.
Nope.
And when Kitty and Marie and Demi and I get together, and we're going to share a hotel room.
Yep.
We're going to go to we're going to do a doll tour.
You guys are in the twin bed. The dolls are in the king.
That's right. We name them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course you name them.
After our lovers. So for me, it's like that guy I banged in sync. I won't name names, but it wasn't Lance. I can tell you that. And
no one knows the names of anyone else. So
I know that's kind of true. He's kept it going. JC Chazé. Chris Kilmartin. Wait, Kilgariff. No, that's Karen Kilgariff. Joey Fatone. Lance Bass.
Tyler.
Harry? Was he in there?
I don't know
he
any
wasn't
of them.
in sync. The more I think about it,
I don't know.
I forgot that one record where it was in sync, Gary.
This is making me very happy. I feel here's the only problem is that everything I want to pitch you is almost not as crazy as what I'm already doing. I'm like, what if you collect something like My Little Ponies?
What's the issue behind those? Because there is one.
There is. This is stuff that fans send.
Okay.
I say stuff that I liked as a kid. And
do you talk to them?
Well, the fans or the
I know you don't talk to fans. I know you've been known to strike them physically when you don't like the way they look at you. Anyway, it's stand of the eye line, honey. But do you talk to your toy horses?
I don't talk to my toy horses.
What
but that might actually be healthy.
Yes.
It might actually be cathartic.
Oh, Kitty talks to her plants.
Good.
Kitty talks to the ficus.
Well, because plants do talk to each other also. So you might as well join in.
That's right. In fact, Kitty sings show tunes.
I feel like Kitty, I'm really into what Kitty collects.
Yeah. She likes old-fashioned Miami memorabilia.
I feel like she's got a couple Jane Seymour paintings.
Yeah. Yeah. Who else paints?
George Bush.
Yeah.
She's got a couple of the dogs.
I'd so rather have the Jane Seymour paintings.
Maybe she like got the painting of Bill Clinton.
And is anyone
from
more
Epstein's
beautiful than Jane
Island.
Seymour? No.
Nope.
No one
It's
in
never
God's green
happened.
earth. No, it's not going to
once.
happen. Not in Kitty's lifetime.
Does Kitty have a QVC line
Yes.
of
Capes.
eyeliner on one side, like eyeshadow on the other?
Yeah, but it's for mature ladies.
Mhm.
So it's like a robot system. Because, we get shaky.
Sure.
We get shaky and leaky.
Yeah.
And so it's like a robot system. By the way, like a jitterbug, it has one button.
Uh-huh.
So don't worry, Kitty's fans don't have to like figure it out or read instructions. No thanks. So it's a robot that puts the makeup on for you. And there's a music playlist. And it's also show tunes with a little like greatest hits of Jim Neighbors.
Yep.
Like it's got some fan favorites.
Yep.
It's got the Ethel Merman disco album.
Did you know that there's a channel that's just Bob Ross painting?
No.
It's only Bob Ross.
And I thought we were friends.
paint.
So wrong.
It's him painting just 24 hours straight. I feel like maybe that's on her Samsung painting TV.
Well, she fucked Bob Ross twice.
For sure.
And everybody knows the second time she was drunk on a martini because it takes so little with Kitty.
He actually used to do her makeup.
I'm also too fat to be Kitty, and I'm only about 110 pounds, but Kitty's got to come in at about 87.
Okay.
You know how those old dames get so thin you don't even know how they stand?
But for some reason, they're incredible at tennis.
Yeah.
They like crush.
Oh, well, she never
people.
misses her tennis lesson.
So there's some kind of, there's a pill. There's
always a pill with Kitty.
There's a peptide. I feel like it's an injection.
And there's a pep pill.
I feel like there's a freezer in the garage.
Stem cells. She's got illegal stem cells.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think she's got an invention going that's some kind of visor that turns into a mirror to do your makeup that has a fan on the side.
Yeah.
So that she can be out in the world.
She calls it the everything. And it's just it's called the everything. And it's a mirror and it's a fan and it talks to you and it plays songs and it puts your makeup on for you. And that's how Kitty just spends the first. Now, it does take 4 hours. But what else are you doing? What else are you doing? Who doesn't want to relax and listen to
She's got time in between writing thank you notes.
Thank you. Exactly. And never misses.
I feel like
never
she's
misses
got
a thank you.
the desk of thank you notes.
Yeah.
I feel like stamps.
And it says from the desk of Kitty.
From the desk of Kitty. And a lot of these letters are going to where? There's going to give feedback on service
first of all,
from companies.
Yes, but also service from the last party she went to. So she's also connected with the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers and the DuPonts.
How could she
so
not
she
be?
knows that whole crowd.
Yep.
So it's like, dear Alicia DuPont, what you have done with the sunroom is utter stunning. Like, it's just a lot of complimentary, so it's
almost
mostly
as incredible as how many chemicals you
put into
the Appalachia water.
Our body. That's right. Yeah.
I feel like her best friend is like her like dental assistant.
Yeah.
She's got like a best friend. It's not hair's too on the nose.
What it would be? It would be like a young Debbie Rowe.
Mm-hmm.
Like whoever is the plastic surgeon's assistant who also is available to give her eggs to a random, let's just go with asexual celebrity.
Right. What are her superpowers?
By the way, who's asexual these days? Like, who's been asexual since Michael Jackson? Remember, that was the whole thing with him. Like, he's not gay or straight. He's asexual.
Was that his thing?
Yeah. No, that wasn't his, like, real thing.
Right.
It wasn't his thing.
Yes.
But it was the face of his empire.
Have I told this story on the podcast
is
about
Chalamet
the cake?
Asexual? No, I feel like he always has
Timothy Chalamet?
Yeah.
I mean, with that chin,
but he looks like a chick. Let's just be honest. He looks like a chick.
I think there's a feminization of a lot of actors. But I always wonder, though, I'm always going, like, where has this happened before? He reminds me a lot, and he is doing the... not Charlie Chaplin.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
He's Johnny Depp was like that though.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio was like that.
But the thinness is what makes him so fashion forward. Like he's so skinny like a model.
Yeah.
He can wear chick clothes or dude clothes right off the runway.
I just think we had like a window of actors that looked like men you'd actually
like
see. We had Seth Rogen. We had Jason Segel. For a minute there, we had just guys that looked
I was going with Daniel Craig, but okay. And The Rock.
I just mean like guys that just looked like, human beings. And now we're back to like cyborg.
He's a waif.
Poreless.
The word waif is still appropriate. Yeah. He's a waif.
And I think there's an androgyny.
Yeah.
In androgyny versus asexual, I don't really know the difference.
No, Chalamet is not asexual. He's not trying to even.
Right?
No.
Yeah. Like I think androgynous.
He's a whore. He's like with a lot of chicks. So I call guys like that whores because they've called us whores for so long. I love calling guys whores.
This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Therapy, y'all, I'm telling you. I normally talk about why therapy is so helpful and how I'm in it and how much it's helped me. But this episode, I'm going to tell you about how I went without it for 4 weeks. And let me tell you, it was a mistake. Because you get to a certain stage where you're going to therapy regularly, your life starts to get better, you start to get saner, things start to get clearer. And then you're like, I got this, dude. I got it. It's fine. I'm busy. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to have sketchy Wi-Fi at the hotel. Let me tell you, 2 weeks no therapy, texted 2 exes. One of them on WhatsApp. Shady, okay? I agreed to do 2 podcasts when I had already set the boundary that I'm going to take the rest of the year off of doing other people's podcasts until I'm promoting my special next year. So check me out on those. Rick Glassman and Trash Tuesday coming out soon. And Pat, where are we?
Oh, sorry.
So I skipped therapy for 4 weeks. Do you want to just put in the Rick Glassman Trash Tuesday thing?
Yeah.
I had skipped therapy for 4 weeks because I was like, I got this. I'm healed. What's a month off? Cut to me buying a Nirvana shirt in Urban Outfitters. So the reason it's important is I already have 10 Nirvana shirts. Second, I literally, without talking to a therapist every week, started regressing into being a teenager. Like emotionally, therapy keeps me in my adult, right? Because like people talk about your inner child coming out and, having a histrionic reaction because your inner child. People don't talk about your inner teenager. My therapist taught me about this. When you're being petulant or you're, have some kind of activated reaction to somebody and it might be an authority figure. A lot of times that's your inner teenager, right? Our inner teenager comes out. So my inner teenager was like, I don't want to work. I don't want to do this. I guess I was pregnant as a teenager, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I'm starting to pattern recognition, right? So then I'm like in my petulant, bratty teenager, and I'm like, I'm going to go buy my Nirvana shirt because nothing matters, And look, being in your inner teenager is not cute. Nobody wants to fight with the person who used to think the spin doctors were cool and still kind of does. Going without therapy in scientific terms, it's like when you're using your dryer a lot and you forget to clean out the lint. Sorry that looked so sexual with my finger, but and then your dryer doesn't work as well, and then your clothes are all damp, and then you smell like swamp, and you walk in, someone's like, "Is that a wharf? Did a wharf just?" Therapy cleans the lint out of your brain. Okay, as my dad used to say, get the shit out of your ears. The lint that tells you should post a bikini selfie to make an ex jealous during work hours. Don't do it. Therapy, quite simply, is like going to the gym for your brain. You work out all the guilt, the shame. You release your magical thinking. You say out loud your worst ideas of what you think you should be doing. You build the muscles of not doing dumb things that are a negative contribution to your future self. You've heard me say it before, and I'm just going to keep pounding this drum till you do it, y'all. So talk to a sane person. And, don't talk to your friends who are self-proclaimed life coaches who also happen to be crashing on your couch. That's not the person you should be getting life advice from, okay? No more making wackadoo choices as an adult. Therapy helps with this. Sorry, there's too much here. And
yeah, you skipped it. That's okay.
I just wanted to skip it.
We'll cut through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Therapy is about making less wackadoo choices. Want to be less wackadoo? BetterHelp.com. Want to be in less pickles? BetterHelp.com. Want to have less emotional humdingers and less jams? BetterHelp is your guy. No more pickles, no more jams. Thanks, BetterHelp. Have I told the story about Michael Jackson and the cake on this podcast?
I don't remember.
Let's go.
Go.
So I know someone that directed Michael Jackson in a music video. This must have been, it was after the Naomi Campbell one.
Yeah.
The famous one when his videos were a really big deal. Right. And it was lunch. And because I was like, tell me everything about Michael Jackson. And he was like, my take on Michael Jackson, he was just like a 6-year-old. They say you are the age you are when you became traumatized. Sometimes you freeze or you freeze at the age you become famous.
Yeah.
There's all these theories. None of them are scientifically backed, but it was like, he's so young emotionally.
Yeah.
It was like dealing with a child who is brilliant
Mm-hmm.
and in a man's body. And I was like, tell me more. I need more. And he was like, well, lunch happens. There's 45 minutes for lunch. He goes into his dressing room. He has food delivered. It's like this big box.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, it's sushi. It's whatever Michael Jackson eats,
Yeah.
I don't know. And 45 minutes passes. He's still in there. They really have to like get the shot off. This was before he caught his hair on fire with the Pepsi commercial.
Which
Remember
I was
that?
an extra in.
No.
Yeah. I was an extra in that Pepsi commercial, directed by Bob Giraldi. Yes,
Wild.
I was an extra. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I want to loop back on that because my now lawyer was there that day and was like, "Give me the film, whatever you would say. Give me the reels,"
Wow.
like because they were rolling on it. It was wild.
Yeah.
And so, it's an hour passes, an hour and a half passes. They're like, "We got to get him out because we
Yeah.
got to shoot this thing." So someone just opens the door. It's unlocked. What had been delivered to him was a sheet cake, and he had torn through the sheet cake, and in the sheet cake were little figurines of like little
Like a king cake.
people. King cake.
Like a New Orleans king cake where there's a doll inside, like a traditional thing. Go ahead.
Horrific.
Yeah.
That has a full baby in it.
Yeah.
And so it was all these little tiny figurines, and he was just playing with them. And it had been delivered in a cake.
Wait, do we think he ate the cake or was just going to get the figurines?
He was just playing with the figurines.
Okay.
They said the cake seemed like it had just been destroyed, but not
Right,
really
not eaten. Okay.
I
got to meet him one time. Later on, I was doing this thing where they had to teach me to dance. It was this thing called Medusa Dare to be Truthful that Julie Brown, remember the redhead Julie Brown from MTV? She
Yes. was
was playing Madonna and
Downtown
she was really
Julie
funny.
Brown? Or that's a
No,
different one?
the Caucasian Julie Brown
Right.
with red hair. And I got to be one of the backup dancers, and I was the only person in the backup dancers that wasn't a real dancer. So they had to give me dance lessons because I was so bad. So the girl teaching me was this girl named Smith Wordies, and she was the girl in The Smooth Criminal where Michael does like one dance with a girl. So ironically, John Landis was shooting the video for Black and White right in the same studio.
Mm.
So I got to go the day before he was going to show up. And the choreographer was a guy known named Vince Patterson, brilliant guy. And he did all the choreography. And he's like, "Do you want to watch the choreography before Michael gets here tomorrow?" I was like, "Oh my God." It blew me away.
Yeah.
It was so difficult. I was thinking, how can he learn this in a day? Okay. So he doesn't show up the next day. He was, and this is before internet, even much less social media. It was in like the LA Times the next day that he was at I'll never forget this, so random, the Westfield Mall at like Pico and Westwood with Emmanuel Lewis, which is very asexual, if you know what I'm saying. And so he just like went shopping, and he came the next day, and the catering.
Annabelle Lewis Webster.
Yes, Webster.
First, I thought it was a boxer. Great. Okay. So how
Yeah, he was
Emmanuel
shopping
Lewis?
with a boxer.
Yeah, but
That is not what asexuals do.
I don't follow famous children and I don't follow sports. So the wires crossed.
All right. So he showed up the next day, and the catering was all vegan. And he did have delicious fried tofu, which I had tofu for the first time and became a convert. But he came into the lunch area, and this girl, Smith, because she knew him, went in to talk to him. So I got to like say hi to him. But during their conversation, the thing that blew my mind, his voice was totally low and normal.
Whoa.
He talked like this. He didn't talk like, "I want to thank everybody."
Whoa.
He was joking with her. Like, I don't mean he was a comedian, but like joking around in like a grown-up way. And clearly she was somebody he really liked and respected and stuff. And I was like, oh. And I'm not saying like, oh, he's super butch and straight. Like, I don't, whatever. But I thought that was fascinating.
Whoa.
And there was something that made him make what I actually think was a bad decision to do that affectation of that voice. But it was really interesting to hear him talk. It's like it's like when Paris Hilton decided to do her real voice.
Right.
And I love her, by the way.
Yeah,
and I
she's
know
great.
you love her. You know, it's funny. I try to explain to my younger friends the vibe in the 90s and the aughts. You almost had to live through it to even get it.
It's wild.
And that the edict to comedians was to be the most vicious possible. And look, we called it roasting.
Yeah.
And it was the assignment. And so I look back on my specials or whatever, and of course, like I wouldn't say half the stuff I said then, but the only thing I defend is we still were making fun of, because I'll do the women thing because that's what I feel guilt about, but we were making fun of girls, women that were multi-millionaires,
Right.
genetically blessed beauties.
At the time, it didn't feel like punching down.
No, it was punching.
It was
By the way,
like-
it was punching up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like if you saw the famous Time cover of Brittany, Lindsay, and Paris leaving the nightclub, Lindsay looked wasted in the photo. They were probably underage for whatever club they were leaving. Paris was driving, so she maybe wasn't wasted. I don't know, and then Brittany looked whatever, out of it or drunk or something. And it's like, I still will defend my right to go, hold on. These are girls that, number one, can certainly afford to have drivers. Like, one thing that cracked me up about that era, everybody was constantly getting in trouble because they drove themselves everywhere. All those like late 90s
Before
aughts.
Uber, yeah.
Right. These girls drove themselves, and guys. So, people were Pete Davidson style running their cars into houses, getting busted for coke all the time. But it is.
Pete Davidson,
He ran his car into a house.
Oh.
Yeah.
He stole an Anne Heche bit?
Yeah. He took Anne's bit.
Wow.
And he just picked a different house and lived.
It was, I was writing on a talk show during that time, Last Call with Carson Daly. Don't be jealous. And yeah, that was it. Leno, Letterman, all of it. It would be like, who's going to do the Lindsay joke tonight?
Right.
Who's going to do the Paris joke? And it was always like their crotch was showing, getting out of a car. It was sluts, whores.
By the way, but it was. Like, I'm just saying, it was the time of the thong. And it was the time of the low-rise jeans that were so low, it was
the time of the sex tape. That was
Yes.
new, that we were watching people have sex, that were famous.
Right.
And it was like, what are we going to not make? And look, and I come from a place where, I come from a home where we all bust each other's balls. We do roast each other.
Same.
Nothing's off limits.
To this day, by the way.
When I had an eating disorder as a teenager, my family joked about me and, sort of stuff. You look like an Auschwitz victim. You look like this, that. Like, it was like.
That's what we joked about.
Totally.
You didn't joke about stuff that had nothing to do. You went to the core.
And we didn't realize we were, traumatizing someone, or in retrospect, now it's punching down. And I think that comedians, like, I'll speak for myself or the female comic, like, we feel like such losers that the idea that we're making fun of the girls that we feel like don't think we're cool or would never want to hang out with us. And we're just kind of going like, oh, she's never even going to hear this.
Right.
And like, I'm sure she would think this is funny or, and you don't realize like, oh, what if one of these people has a substance abuse problem? No one knew Paris had gone through some boarding school where she was abused.
God, that story.
Her
documentary on YouTube is really good too.
Yeah, brilliant. And I also think nobody understood the trauma of fame. Like,
We didn't have the word
no one
trauma.
at the time.
That was used for like ER nurses.
100.
That's it.
And no one was like, oh, this person who was born into money or this person who's famous could possibly be traumatized by fame because we're all trying to get it.
But it was always the dude that released the tape. Like, that's the other thing is these girls had to deal with then those dudes lying and saying, oh, she leaked it or she wanted it out there. No, of course
And there was no way
not.
to corroborate. There was no way for, one of these girls to go on IG Live and like clear it up.
Or if they did, they weren't believed,
Yeah.
But I remember when I hosted the Joan Rivers Comedy Central roast, I remember Joan wanted me to do it because we were pals. And I think she thought in this Hunger Games environment, maybe you can sort of protect me. And I did get to tell a couple like sort of heartfelt moments with her and stuff. But it was definitely weird, the jokes that were pitched to me written by dudes. And they were all dry vagina jokes. And Joan was already doing them about herself. And that's already funnier. But I remember people canceling. I don't know if you remember this, but
They always canceled last minute.
Lily Tomlin canceled. And I actually called her up and I was like, look, some of the big names are canceling.
Is that how I got on it?
No, but Joan was like, I don't want all people I don't really know very well.
Yeah.
I've been around so long. And this is before Roseanne went QAnon, but Roseanne was still Roseanne, and Roseanne canceled. And I called Lily and I said, do you think you can come? Like, Joan kind of really wants you to be there. And Lily said this thing that always stuck with me. And she goes, don't you think Joan's been roasted enough? And I really did feel dirty doing that roast. I really did.
I didn't know, and I had no idea. For me, it was like paycheck. For me, it was if you're here, you must want to be here.
Right. I
had no clue.
Well, remember they go, it's an homage. And Joan kept saying afterwards, she's like, yeah, they kept telling me it was an honor. She's like, oh yeah, an honor. But I remembered that Lily saying, and I thought, yeah, like, and to this day, I actually still think the Pam Anderson one is fair, even though she's got a great story that we now know. But she also sort of made a character that was a character that I for one didn't think she was really the girl from Baywatch. I think the Shatner one was fair. Like I think the Trump one was fair. Like there's somewhere you go, okay, this person has kind of put themselves in a situation.
Right.
And some of them just kind of didn't make sense.
And I think that because I wrote for the roast for so long
Mhm.
and then was on them for a while and now just rebooted them on OnlyFans TV, but the way
Yeah.
we did it was like super loving. Our rules were no women are old, no dry vagina stuff, no guys have small dicks, like no, you're a pedophile if you're not actually, you know,
Right.
stuff like that. Like we had, because, you know, it's shocking to me, you know, that people got hurt on
Yeah.
these, because I'm like, this is a job. We're joking.
Yeah.
I'm in the writer's room. I'm
Right.
writing the jokes, and I know they're not true.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm going, oh, what do we say about Lisa Lampanelli?
Yeah.
Can't say she's not hilarious.
Right.
Can't say she's not
Right.
successful. She's one of my heroes. So I guess,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
everyone always talks. She talks about dating black guys. I guess we're doing the black guys show.
Right, right.
To me, it was like always just like a Rubik's Cube of
Yeah.
like, what's the math of
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And I was too young at the time to know, like, oh, sometimes people have to put themselves in humiliating situations, either
Mhm.
to pay a tax bill or to
Yeah.
stay relevant, or at the time, because the people that signed up to do them, I feel like they became so beloved
Yeah.
for doing it. It was like this shame release.
And also that it's actually really nice, the structure of those where they got their comeback at the end.
Yeah.
And whether it was a Shatner that was going to do written material or a Joan that wanted to write her own, like that was always the saving grace of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And luckily Joan was such a crusher. Her set really did do better than everybody's,
course.
period.
Of course. And it crushed me when I watched her documentary, Piece of Work. And she was like in the limousine talking about how much she was dreading it,
Yeah.
how humiliating it was, how as female comedians, you know, people want to see us, you know, shit on and denigrated,
Yeah.
and they don't want to see us shine and they don't want to see us win. And I was like, oh my God, like it really,
Yeah.
I was embarrassed, you know, but then it was like, you know, I did Hasselhoff after that.
Well,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah,
Come on. Like, I just don't think David Hasselhoff cried for 2 days. I just don't.
100%.
I just don't see that happening.
100%. I'm saying, it feels like, you know, it was, yeah, I just, in my head at the time, it's like, Joan doesn't do anything Joan doesn't want to do. Like,
But I'm just saying, like, in the 90s and aughts, we did not have that sense of Hasselhoff, fair. This person,
yeah,
not really.
Yep.
But it was kind of like who's ever hot, who's
Yep.
ever game.
Yep.
And I think we're getting better about that. Look, I have to be told, I don't mean to sound like in those days, but I do have to be told sometimes like what not to say and everything. I
Yeah.
welcome it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want somebody leaving in tears.
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
somebody that goes home and goes, wow, I went to a comedy show to have fun and this happened, you know, or whatever.
And we play rough. And I think that my
Yes.
biggest problem with the roast at that time is making a sports metaphor here. Hopefully it's correct, which is, you know, in MMA, you would never put a heavyweight with a featherweight.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of those roasts end up doing.
Yeah.
It's like you put Pam Anderson with Greg Giraldo. Like,
Right.
what are
Yeah.
you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why is, you know, Kate Walsh with, you know, Jeff Ross? I mean,
Yeah.
Kate did great on whatever roast that she did. So to me, it was like all killers only.
Yeah.
And then let's all get together and go like, what we do in the green room, that's all fair. We're
Right.
never trying to hurt each other. We're doing, as soon as money gets involved, all of a sudden we're like going so
No,
hard.
it was weird when they would throw in like straight actors and actresses. And
And then-
I always felt for them, and they were always nervous as hell.
As
course.
they should be.
Yes.
As they should be. And I didn't, at the time, I didn't know, like, because I was getting paid $2,000.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how much everyone was
Yeah,
making. So
yeah.
I'm like, they must be making $100 million
Right.
or something
Right.
a year. Or they must have some deal where they can cut things out. I don't know, because having been in the writer's room at the roast before,
Mhm.
we would write all these jokes, and then the producer would say, you can't say that. The daughter's off limits.
Yeah.
Remember, it was like, for Shatner, the dead wife in the pool was off limits.
Yeah.
There was always like an off limits. You know,
Right.
for Joan, it was her daughter
Melissa,
and
yeah.
Cooper, as you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like we had to abide by all these rules.
Yeah.
So by the time we got there, I was kind of like, oh, I guess this is all
Yeah.
above board, you know? But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I feel like, you know, was going on. Your
Right.
hair, you know, you start going for women, they start going for physical stuff.
Yeah,
I think
always.
it always seems
Still.
a little bit rougher,
Yeah.
you know?
For sure.
And like it's always like the older you get, the less sex you have. It's like,
Yeah,
what
I
is
know.
this?
I
Like, I
don't
don't even
know.
know what this is.
I don't know.
You've seen the comeback with
Of course.
Lisa
I love
Kudrow.
it.
To me, that is
Brilliant.
after seeing that, it
Yeah.
really made me understand that dynamic of what we do
Yeah.
in this business.
And God, does she nail those dramatic scenes as well? Like, as much as she's innately funny and talented, that's what that
best.
show needs. She
The
needs somebody to
best.
be able to hit those
At the
drama
end, when
scenes too.
she does a one take of talking about being on the field hockey team
Yeah.
and having the rod in her back, it's just, you know. Can I ask you, on that note,
Yes.
and we can cut this out. One time I went to your home
Yeah.
and you had, speaking of just hot, slippery sex,
Hmm.
your bed had these lucite bars on them.
Right.
And I was like, that is such a cool bed. And you're like, oh yeah, that's for sex. I was like, and I never knew if you were serious or not.
I was. Now, I didn't build it for that, but it became that.
Okay, got it.
So I built a headboard that this is like so 90s. It was like sparkly vinyl or some crap. And there were lucite bars so you could see through because there was really cool wallpaper. And I just thought it would look not like a big, massive headboard, but it had high ceilings. And I remember, banging some guy and being like, oh, I can like reach right back. And so I'm not saying there was anything weird, but let's just go straight missionary. It's nice to ground yourself.
Yeah.
And please use this.
Yeah.
And by the way, let's talk about sex. And I'll tell you why. Because, like I said, I'm 62, and there's like this thing going on with my girlfriends my age where they're saying proudly, like, and if I never have sex again, that'll be a day too soon for me. Don't put me in your fucking club.
Yep.
Like, I went to a girlfriend's house, and she actually made a point to say she's gay, but she said about her partner, she's like, oh, we have separate rooms. I mean, I have been closed for business for a long time. And she's like, right? I'm like, no, don't write me.
Mm-mm.
No. God knows my parents never talked to me about this, but I don't know how that even started where people think there's like an age where you stop.
Actually, your testosterone goes up as a woman as you get older.
I don't know. I'm still on a hormone patch because I still get night sweats, but I just don't. And I don't know if that's just like an old trope
Yeah.
that girls bought into,
Sure.
or if it's that guys aren't attracted to women over a certain age. But like, I don't sign on to that.
Yeah, I just think the longer you have sex, the better you are at it, the more you know what you want.
And once again, they never say that about guys.
Yeah.
Like, you never hear like, well, you better get him before he's 60.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he is closed for business.
Yeah.
No.
Ugh.
Robert De Niro having a baby. No.
How old's Robert De Niro?
Like 78.
That's like him being like, I want to have a kid, but only for like 6 years.
Yeah. And that's all he'll need.
Like, I don't want to have
Right.
to raise it.
Right.
You know?
Because once he starts drooling and the whole thing. Oh, I don't know if you have this yet, but I can't recommend it enough. I am in a small, and I'm proud of this, but I have what's called a dementia condo plan.
Okay.
Okay. So, by the way, I hate to see you know where this is going. So I'm
After Canada said no.
Yeah, after Canada said no, I'm not welcome there. I'm barely welcome here, but only in the blue cities, but I am sort of. Okay, so once again, I did steal this idea from dear departed Joan Rivers, because she had a dementia condo plan with, get ready, Cindy Adams, Barbara Walters, and Judge Judy. I confirmed it independently.
Judge Judy was not going into a condo. She's got 3 yachts.
Here's the thing, though. They would fight over whose house they would get, even though they'd all have dementia, so they wouldn't know. And Joan said they would save money on the caregiver and the dog walker because they would never know who was in and where. But Barbara Walters had the Doris Duke apartment, so that has certain cachet. But Judge Judy has more money than the Almighty.
Okay.
I've seen the Almighty's receipts, and she doesn't come close to Judge Judy. Anyway, so here's my dementia condo. It's a little, it's
The
going to catch
golden
you
hour
by,
girls.
but remember, we already have dementia at this point.
Okay.
So it's not even really like we see each other or know each other is there.
Yeah.
Which is why you have to pick rich people, because you do want to be comfortable when you're,
Yeah.
leaking.
Yeah.
And so, my dementia condo is Sia,
Okay. Yeah.
our
Great.
mutual friend Sia, Khloe Kardashian,
Okay.
and Kris Jenner. I think that's solid.
This isn't going to be live streamed, though. I feel like if it's
Yeah, it might
the
be.
Kardashians are there.
She might.
You'll forget the cameras are there. It's fine.
By the way, we also get hair and makeup every day, like Sonny Von Bulow. So we're laying there for the most part immobile, and we still get full glam. And I think we should definitely live in Chris's place because she's going to have, I also think Chris will be the last to get dementia.
Yeah.
Because I think her motor skills will remember how to print money. So she'll still, her room will be like click, 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 click. She's going to have the money printing machine, which I've seen.
I do think those Skims help with circulation to the
Yes.
brain. There's something going on.
And she probably has like 114% of skims.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some kind of shady.
Yeah, she doesn't need to skim off the
number
top.
work.
She's just got it all.
Oh, we're also going to own a church.
Okay.
So we can get everything tax free.
Remember when Katy Perry bought a church by accident?
No. We're going to buy people.
Okay, got it.
We're not just buying a building. We're buying
Smart.
humans.
So this
it's
is
not
like
tech trafficking technically, but it's a church alt. A cult church alt.
Okay.
A church alt.
A chult.
So that means Chris has enough relationships to make like all the local authorities look the other way.
Yep.
Although, and this is really, really sick. I don't know if you have this with your guy yet, but my husband, who's 18 years younger, this is so twisted. I can't help but fantasize about his wife when I croak. Because let's not kid ourselves. He's not going to outlive me. No way. And so I want him to be with Chloe. I think she's very sweet.
She is.
Discussed it not with her, but with him.
She is. When
He's
I
like,
was
"This
trying
is
to
weird."
rescue a giraffe in Malibu during the Woolsey fires,
Yeah.
she reached out to me before anyone.
With a leash?
But
What does that mean? Here's a lasso. All right. So I think that Chloe and my husband Randy would be happy.
Okay.
Once again, I'm basically but here's the thing. I don't want to live that long. If I
Yeah.
go today, I'm ready, honey.
Yeah.
It's time. And the other thing I'm upset about, I don't know about you because you're with child, or it's a bit, I don't know. But I am livid that I'm still alive for fucking apocalypse.
Isn't it weird that we were chosen for this?
No, it is. I'm livid about it. Like, I can't tell you how pissed I am.
Mm.
And we'll get back to the Dementia Dream Home soon. But just know that's a solid group.
Yeah.
And
then in California?
I don't know. And I don't have to know.
I feel like half my friends are talking about most of my friends are talking about bunkers. They're like, there's the bunkers.
Oh, they're already in the bunker.
They're looking at bunkers.
They're looking at
in
bunkers. Okay.
Kentucky. They're going underground.
See, I'm just going to go out there one more wildfire, and I'm just going to go out there just naked, arms up. Take me, Lord. Today's my big day. And there's many days where I just ask my husband to just walk me to Point Doom and just throw me into the water and call Chloe. I said they're not going to find me for weeks. But yeah,
you're so light. You would just keep washing back in.
I'm going to
There's
go.
no way
the tide's going to go out, and so am I. I'll go to Catalina, float there for a while, and so
Have you made a will?
Of course,
Really?
You know,
I
I'm
haven't yet, and I know I'm supposed to.
Okay.
I know. Is that crazy?
Okay.
What?
Okay.
I know. The problem is at this
This
point.
is very upsetting for me.
What? Okay.
Very upsetting.
Sorry.
First of all, now I have to put you in touch with Susie Harmon. That's how this works.
Just twist my arm.
Okay. Susie Harmon will hook you up.
Please don't.
I'm still good friends with Susie Harmon. If your readers don't remember the Susie Harmon show, hey, girlfriend, denied, right? She had that show on CNBC. We're still like besties.
Money
She's
genius.
Money genius. She's never steered me wrong. Every piece of advice she gave me, I took. All this other stuff.
She had you leave all your money to her? She is smart.
Which was wise. By the way, I should get her in the Dementia condo. What am I thinking?
Yeah, you should.
Bye-bye, Chloe. Bye-bye. I gotta trim the fat, honey. Somebody's gotta go. It's not my choice. And so, yes, you need a living irrevocable trust, and you need a plan for who can take care of your affairs if you become incapacitated in any way.
I think one way that Jamie Spears.
Oh, can I be your conservator? Okay.
No, Brittany's dad.
Yeah. So he's
he
in
at least
charge.
provides drugs the whole time.
He's in
it seems
charge.
like.
He'll give you all the good meds.
But you, number one, have to do it so that if something happens to you, your animals go to somebody that isn't crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the problem is I still think of my will right now doing it like as a bit. That I would do a bit.
Right.
I would leave half my money to an ex who or something stupid.
And by the way, you can be as detailed as possible. You can decide I'm going to give my Kathy Griffin poster, and that is kind of weird. You have a giant Kathy Griffin poster.
Yeah, is it?
Okay, super fan. Or you can just be like, okay, I'm going to leave it all to, X charity and this person. But the first thing you just have to do is you just have to get a general one at least, and you have to decide who's in charge.
You would know the answer to this.
Yes.
What happens when someone leaves $10 million to their cat?
It goes to the person who is the conservator of the will. So if you didn't assign a person, like there's a documentary about this called Gunther's Millions, where somebody leaves a bunch of millions to their dog. And then, of course, you find out the dog's handlers get everything because that's how it would go. So the court, first of all, you'd be in probate forever. And the number of people fighting to get your estate would be ridiculous. But chances are, I know this is crazy, the court might go, well, who spent the most time with the dog? So your housekeeper would be making out like a bandit.
Ooh, I like that.
Or whoever is in, or leave it to her.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when people leave money to an animal. Like when I think
Elizabeth Taylor, I thought did
somebody left. Yeah, it really goes to the person, and usually it's even delegated how much they're going to give to the maintenance of this part of the animal's life. Sometimes people have it so that when that animal passes away, they want the person to get a new similar like type of dog and make that like Gunther the Second, that sort of thing.
Wild.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, this is wild because Michael Jackson actually abused his animals. Really, I mean, he didn't. The Bob Dunn did, but he left $2 million to his chimp Bubbles. But there was more than one Bubbles. There was many of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you can't keep a chimpanzee as a pet in a suit. They would keep them in these cages so that they weren't able to develop muscles or anything.
Oh my God.
This is really interesting. Oprah Winfrey, $30 million. She was once quoted as saying that if her home were to catch on fire, one of the personal possessions she would grab is a photo album of her 5 dogs, and that she would give $30 million to her dogs. Okay,
that's high. That's
a
what I'm
lot
saying.
of money. Oh yeah,
That's
Gunther.
high.
Yep, Pet Gunther.
Yeah.
$80 million.
Yes.
Carlotta Liebenstein.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Who supposedly was nobility, although I think that's in question. But yeah, there's a whole doc series about exactly what happened to Gunther's millions, literally millions. It's called Gunther's Millions.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it went to the handlers, and the implication in the doc series is that they were not very responsible with it. And by that, I mean, they straight up started a sex cult. And by the way,
always goes to sex cult.
But does every cult have to be a sex cult?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Can't
that's
a
the whole
cult just
point.
be?
No.
Remember the old suicide cults? See, that was something I could wrap my brain around. Just put on the Adidas sneakers, and that's it. But always with the sex cult
I know.
part.
Remember the Nexium one where we thought it was about volleyball and math, and then it's about sex, always.
I thought it was simply mind control, but always write down branding.
I think even if you don't plan on it, I feel like you start a cult, then you're like, oh, there's all these people in my house, and like, they keep asking me questions.
I've watched everything there is to see about Nexium.
It's so great.
I know. There's still a couple of those gals that go and like serenade him.
I have one of the tank tops from Spirit Week.
What?
I know. I'll show it to you.
Nice.
It's pretty wild.
Nice.
Yeah, Sarah Edmondson, who's on it, became a friend of mine, and we've like met and stuff. Yeah, I mean, fascinating.
I love all. Have you seen the Duggars docuseries?
No, I've heard about it.
Well, guess what they're tied to?
Tell me.
The sex cult.
Why?
Like, they're part of Christianity as a certain sect that blah, blah, blah. And the minister, and as you're watching it, you're like, oh boy, that minister just has that sex cult face. And sure enough, like episode 3, they're like, and you're not going to believe what he did with the women. Like, let me guess. Always.
Can I ask you about dating younger?
Yes.
My guy is 11 years younger than me, and it's
nothing.
It's bothering me that
it usually bothers the woman in relationships with a woman's older. My guess is it doesn't bother him.
I didn't realize no, he loves it. I didn't realize how important it was to me to be able to have to be able to sing along to the same music.
Yeah.
Like, it drives me nuts when I'm like, you don't know Eve? Like, it just makes me nuts. And then I'm like, we don't understand each other. Like, music, I guess, to me feels like such a shared set of emotions.
I got lucky because my husband happens to be this weird, like, 80s music junkie.
Whoa.
And so when he plays those songs, I'm like, and I was there. I was alive and everything. How was 7th grade? I mean, it's only creepy when you think about when I was 20.
Like, when I'm like telling him who Mitch Hedberg was, I'm just like, oh, this is such a bummer.
Right.
You know?
But, that's why God invented YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
What about Twitter turning to X? Do you think it's really going to happen? It's supposed to happen today.
Yeah, I think that Elon Musk will do anything. I mean, he's really wants to keep. What is was it PayPal?
Good guy for you. I'm kidding.
Sure, I would love to be one of his handmaids.
Oh, like one of his.
I don't think my eyes are far enough
where you
apart.
accidentally got pregnant.
Yeah,
and then you don't even need to see him.
Yeah, no. I mean,
everybody wins.
Yeah, he'll just put twins in you, but you have to look like an alien. It seems like that's the thing.
That's the downside.
You know, I'm not going to get dreadlocks or whatever his girlfriends need to do in order for him to like be interested.
Yeah.
Dating younger. There's just like a couple of those things.
Look, the life experience stuff is real. I mean, that is something that actually took me years to get over.
Mm-hmm.
And it does take a while because, like I said, our difference is great. It's 18 years. And I think, unlike a dude, because I've known many, many guys with an 18 years younger girlfriend or wife, and the guys I know that are like that are wealthy and they really marginalize these women. Like, it's like, because, guys think of me as a dude. Like, guy comics don't hit on me. They think of me as a dude. And so I'm often the only girl in the room with the wealthy older guy who's successful, and he can relate to me and we're chatting. But often I'm like, well, you married her.
Mhm.
Isn't she allowed in this room?
Right,
You know?
right.
And I think with older women and younger guys, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Like, I have no desire to like sock my husband away somewhere because he just can't possibly keep up, or
Right.
I assume he wouldn't be able to contribute. I think that's more of a guy thing. So I'm the perfect person to talk to because we've been together 12 and a half
Or
years.
he would just be like, help me.
Yeah.
I think that's why the billionaires don't let their girlfriends in.
Yeah.
in.
Because we don't want them to get a ride out of the state.
Yeah, yeah.
Then once they're gone, they're gone.
The good thing about dating a younger guy is you're always like fascinating.
Yeah.
Like I told him about Lorena Bobbitt the other day.
Oh my God.
And blew his mind. Lorena
Yeah.
Bobbitt, who cut off her husband's penis
John
and then threw it
Bobbitt.
in a field.
Yeah.
And then he ended up doing a porn.
Well, they sewed it back on to the best of their ability.
Yep. And then he went on and did a porn
Yeah.
called John Bobbitt Uncut. It was
Right.
this whole, or parts, like strange parts.
Celebrity boxing, all
I'm
that.
killing. I'm
Yeah.
the most interesting person alive,
Yeah.
but I just was there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you know all this? I'm like,
Right.
I was
Like,
there.
I know Michael Lohan. You know.
So true. Something I want to talk about, we can get into as much or as little as you want. I am slowly admitting that I have been struggling with an addiction to weed and I have stopped. I know. I think something's happening where people are starting to go like, oh, it's a lot of people are going through this. A
Right.
lot of people are leaning on substances. A lot of people, I never thought I would be someone that would be addicted to a substance because
Yeah.
I was always addicted to work or
Also, I believe the weed pitch was it is non-addictive, which
how they get you.
I'm not sure what that's applicable
That was the
to.
OxyContin pitch too, from
Yes, of course.
from pharmaceutical
Right.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe some of the thoughts that I was having about.
Did it
my-
make you paranoid, or
Yes.
what were the downsides?
Yes, first of all, a lot of people do really well on weed.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people whose personality is a match.
Yeah.
I'm already an intense person. I'm already, comics. I'm already skeptical. I'm already devil's advocate. I'm already, let's find the Scientology boats
Yeah.
person. I love to pick apart a conspiracy theory.
Yep.
I want to, see all the alien footage. And my mom died, and I think my biggest mistake with it was using it to check out instead of check in. I wasn't like, I want to be more
Ah.
creative. I want to go to this party and be social.
Right,
and fun.
because I remember talking to one comedian who smokes before a show, and I was like, doesn't weed just knock you out? So I thought it was interesting, and I think this comic was using it to deal with anxiety probably.
Mhm.
But
Even though it does cause anxiety down the line because it lowers your tolerance
so
for
if
discomfort.
I may ask, were you using it at a certain time of day? Were you smoking it? Was it gummies?
It was the gummies I tried a couple times during the pandemic, and that was not a match for me
Okay.
because my brain on a gummy says that gummy didn't kick in. It didn't work.
Oh,
You
right.
need another gummy.
Yeah.
Like it's not. It cooked weird.
Yeah.
It distributed weird.
Right.
And I don't feel anything.
So you got more got, I should say, from smoking.
So smoking, I felt like I can control it.
Right.
It doesn't last as long.
Yeah.
Gummies are kind of this like you either doesn't hit at all or you're like on the 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know what I
Go
mean?
in the wrong direction.
Yeah, totally. So I was like, this just isn't for me. I think it's, a lot of people I'm sure do well on them. I think they just haven't figured out the dosage yet.
Yeah.
The way if you put
And I saw this like on 60 Minutes, so there you go. But I have heard that for some reason weed is like way stronger than it was in the 60s, 70s,
Correct,
which I'm not
correct.
sure how people measured, but
the way that it is so much stronger now, the edibles, because also an ease driver, it's the name of the weed delivery company. It's in
Yeah.
their car. The chocolates melt. You
Yeah.
don't know how it's distributed,
Right.
And I think that to me, it was kind of boiling down to a gambling addiction ultimately, which is the idea of like once every 4 or 5 times, it would be great. I would think of a great joke. I'd have a great insight. I'd
Yeah.
be self-aware. I would be forgiving everybody.
Mhm.
Oh, my abusers hurt people. This
Yeah.
I'm breaking ancestral cycles. I'm journaling. I'm cleaning my house. Like
Yeah.
I'm having great conversations with people. And then the other 3 or 4 times, I feel like I'd be super manic. I'm falling behind. I'm never going to make it. Obsessing about some thing I said at a Comedy Central premiere 8
Yeah.
years ago. This person hates you because you said that. It was like.
was there one thing that made you go, okay, enough? Like, was there one night or was there one thing where you were like, oh, I feel depressed all the time, or like,
And I started losing things. I don't like being a mess. I
Yeah.
don't like not knowing where my shit is.
Yeah.
I don't like being putting something in the calendar on the wrong day.
Mhm.
Like I was just kind of that person,
Mhm.
you know? And I found myself uh one time I did give my dog the wrong medication, and it's not like a super serious one.
Yeah.
But I remember just being like, that could have been bad. Little
Right.
things like that. There was a
Right.
lot of that could have been bad.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I just got a little bit of a
Yeah.
warning.
Now, what about where are you on psychedelics? Because I'm also in recovery. I was a prescription pill addict. I still am an addict, but I'm in recovery. And, in the big book, Bill W., who wrote the big book, does refer to and reference, I don't remember the psychedelics, but psychedelics.
Yeah.
How do you feel about those? And do you feel like you would get relief from them, or where are you with that?
I took psychedelics. I took mushrooms on a live podcast once. It was so fun. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I had done it. I did LSD when I was like 11. It was a nightmare. That was like
Is LSD manufactured, or is it like mushrooms?
LSD's
It's all chemical.
acid
Okay.
is all chemical, right? So this was mushrooms. The first time I ever did them, I did it live on a podcast. I felt like my brain was supercharged.
Yeah.
I felt like I could see clearly. I felt like I was funny. I was having a good time. Who knows? Maybe I didn't read the room.
Oh, wait, did you then watch it?
I thought it was funny.
So you thought it was okay.
I
You
thought
were
my
like,
brain-
oh my God. And then I got home and watched it. Like it was
I thought
okay.
my brain was moving fast.
You were genuinely having fun, and it reflected in the show. It wasn't like
I felt like I was present,
you weren't
which I don't.
delusional, enjoying yourself being mean or anything
Right.
like
So
that.
you didn't look like a sloppy drunk. You were just fun and footloose and fancy free. Okay.
I think so. I mean, I'm always
So are you pro mushroom now?
not. Yeah. It actually energized me a lot. Made me think like today's the day that we're going to clean up the water in West Virginia. Not that
Yeah.
doesn't need to be done. You
Right,
know,
right.
Today's the day that I'm going to make sure that Pearl Tatton, a woman that stood up at a slave auction in West
Mhm.
Virginia, and died we're going to make a movie about her and
Mhm.
get her the justice she deserved. It
Yeah.
made me very obsessed with justice
Mhm.
and what is right. And I think I already have a lot of compassion.
Yeah.
I already have a lot of empathy. And I think a lot of people take it to have compassion and
Mhm.
empathy. So it kind of supercharged that and made me, I've said it before, on last week's podcast, like I scheduled a call with a maritime lawyer to try to figure out where the Scientology boats are.
Yeah.
I was like, so I'm like, does someone need to do that? Maybe. Does
Yeah.
it need to be me? Probably not,
How
but
does one find a maritime lawyer?
who did I ask?
Did you ask the ocean?
The orcas came up, ran my boat, and then gave me a little piece of paper. So I found myself getting very obsessed with what is right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a self-righteousness. It was just I'm going to be the hero that does this. And I'm already a person that, rescues dangerous animals and puts myself in really dangerous situations. And I was putting myself in very dangerous situations. I felt invincible. I felt like I had nothing to lose. And I was doing it to try to numb myself, which you would normally do with a prescription drug, but that's not what that drug does. I think it actually makes you more sensitive. I think it makes you more conscious.
I see.
And I was trying to do the opposite.
Yeah.
I also, perhaps, other people have experienced this. I think a lot of people take mushrooms to feel compassion, to soften, or feel feelings you don't normally feel, being vulnerable, whatever. I don't normally feel anger.
Mm.
And I had anger start coming up.
Interesting.
And I
Interesting.
didn't aim it towards anybody, but my parents had just died, but I finally felt like to be like, I'm pissed I'm mad.
Mhm.
And I think I needed to feel that. And
Yeah.
but I was, instead of just crying or grieving or processing or talking to a therapist, I was like, oh, this is medicine. It's plants. And, and then you lose track. You're doing a little mushrooms and you're smoking weed to go to bed. And then you're, and then a big part of it that I think a lot of people don't talk about is that you don't get the quality REM sleep where you're really processing your subconscious stuff. So
On weed or mushrooms?
weed.
Okay.
I would smoke some indica to go to bed, and then you wake up 8 hours later, just black hole of nothing.
I
And now
see.
that I'm off everything, I'm having these really intense dreams,
Yeah.
nightmares, night terrors, fine, but at least it's like working out the
Yeah.
subconscious stuff, So I think I was using it to check out, and for the people that use it to heal, I think that's super awesome, but that's not how.
And what about ketamine?
The ketamine drip, I've never done.
And I think ketamine is all manufactured, Patrick?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, people think I'm like an authority on ketamine because during the pandemic, did a microdose of oxytocin and ketamine. It's a nasal spray. A lot of people, it is highly addictive. I did
What's
it.
that? What's oxytocin?
Oxytocin is what you feel, the love chemical, when you hug someone, when you have an orgasm, when you see your baby for the first time. So the idea of it is like the forgiveness formula. So the idea is like a little bit of ketamine, a little bit of oxytocin. You get on with a therapist, and then you take it, and then you start going, okay, this person that abused
I
me,
see.
I can forgive them. I forgive you. You forgive me. I
Now,
forgive
is that as radical as when I've had friends talk about a guided journey?
A guided journey is that when there's a drip.
I think that's the drip, like
So-
the IV infusion.
A lot of people said, Neil Brennan has talked about this publicly about how much it transformed his life.
Mhm.
A lot of people talk about, friends of mine that have gone through serious, like acute trauma. Like their husband gets hit by a car and is just dead the next day. They have 2 kids. You
Yeah.
go straight to this place, ketamine and it helps you to be able to not want to blow your head off.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I want to save that for later.
Yeah.
I want to, this is how much of an addict I am. I want to save drugs for when
Yeah.
I know I'm really
How
gonna
about for
need.
the dementia dream condo?
Yeah, exactly.
Just have it going
We're just-
24/7.
I've never done heroin. I've never done cocaine. I've never
Oh.
done. Let's do it.
For sure. When I'm at the condo, it's heroin.
There's
There's
why
someone,
not? Professor that microdoses heroin. And if you don't have an addictive personality and can do that, that's awesome. I just think that
Is it Professor Timothy Leary?
I do.
Because I don't know if he was honest about all that.
But I think that the same way that we sort of, watch Mad Men and we're like, remember when they would just have a 3 martini lunch?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, I'm just having a drink. It's like, I think we're kind of doing the same thing. We're using words like plant medicine.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's got medicinal qualities, but if you're not, for me, like the ketamine nasal spray worked because I was working with a doctor. I was
Yeah.
on with a therapist. There was like a goal of we're doing step work. Like we're, basically dislodging these crystallized resentments. Like we're melting this stuff that's poison. We're drinking poison, waiting for the other person to die. How do we forgive these people? Not because they deserve forgiveness, because we deserve peace.
Yeah.
That was the part of program I just couldn't. And I think my body wanted to stay in don't forgive this person to keep myself safe.
Mhm.
And then this helped me go like, you're safe. You don't have to be mad at this person that hurt you 20 years ago and keep punishing everybody else and living at this war mentality. You know, I think I just had this mentality.
When
of
you
like,
say person, do you mean Ellen?
don't
I'm kidding. Why can't I make an innocent joke?
You can. Dude, I'm the only person that makes jokes about Ellen.
Oh, thank God.
Do I not make jokes about Ellen every episode? And everyone just like goes under the table. I'm like, we're still scared of Ellen?
Yes.
This is wild to me.
Yes, we are. Yes.
People are like, Ellen was mean. I'm like, she used to make her staff crouch in a box for 40 minutes
She's killed people.
to then.
I'm almost sure. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure she's killed people. All right, back to the pot. Now,
So-
have you found it difficult to stop, or do you taper, or what?
It's interesting. The reason I think it was so difficult for me to stop is that the damage I did when I was, smoking a lot of weed, and by damage, I mean letting people, maybe back in that were tricky or, being late on a deadline. I then was like, well, I need to smoke weed to just cope with this so that I can stop smoking weed.
Yeah.
That's what addiction does to
Yeah.
you. Your addiction's like, if I could just smoke a little weed, I can solve this problem.
Right. I could solve this weed problem. This pesky weed problem.
And then you're like, the problem was it was vapes. Now if I just need a pre-roll.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that wasn't the right pre-roll, dude.
Oh, damn it.
Shouldn't have tasted like Pop-Tarts. Let me just do the adult. Like, so there was the whack-a-mole,
Yeah.
and it's also like weed is fun, It might not have been fun for Pat when we were like editing. And I think it's fun. It made me be like, let's just do this crazy thing.
Pat,
and
were you
let's-
getting secondhand high?
No.
Is that real? Does that really, like, if you're next to someone smoking,
Yeah.
you're really going to feel a buzz?
Really?
See, I've never felt that.
Huh.
That I know of.
It's hard to get me. My guess is your brain is hard to get high too.
Yes.
My brain is hard
Takes
to
a
get
sledgehammer,
high.
yeah.
People will see me. I remember Grace would be in here and she'd see me like smoking a pre-roll. She'd be like, how are you standing
Yeah.
up? So I think I metabolize weed very quickly, but then when it hits, it hits.
Mhm.
And then I felt like long-term, my brain was slower. So I think to talk about a real rock bottom for
Yeah.
people like us to perform, or I'll speak for
Yeah.
myself, was like going on podcasts and like my brain being slower and not being as funny as I know I'm capable of
'cause
being.
you miss it.
And I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I making myself dumber?
Was there an amount per day that you're like, okay, this is too much? Because I know gummies is grams. I don't know how the smoke stuff is
Right.
measured.
The smoke stuff, I'd get them in these, there's great, the The problem is it's different every time.
Mm.
If you haven't eaten enough, if you haven't drank enough, if you didn't sleep enough the night before, depending on what you're doing, you
Yeah.
know, I couldn't get a consistent result.
Like a measurement on this will get me this high and this
And then
will
I'm like,
get me
I'm
this
figuring
high.
it out. I'm doing research.
Yeah,
I'm an
hey, man.
anthropologist of weed. I
Right.
mean, make sure to have peanut butter and jelly sandwich before.
Where's my Pell Grant?
It's your it's
Yeah.
like what I've seen in all my friends struggling to stop drinking alcohol, where
Yeah.
they're like, you know, I'm just gonna do rosé.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
I'm
drink.
going to put water in my drink.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut it with some
I'm not going
seltzer.
to drink till 7.
No more brown liquor.
Maybe 10.
Yeah. Can I ask about the prescription drug stuff?
Yes.
Was it like a slow burn?
This is so pitiful. Okay, so first of all, I know it's going to sound cliche that I'm blaming everything, but honestly, it really did like start with the Trump thing, which was 6 years ago, 6 long years ago. And first of all, I like really started abusing prescription pills at like 56, which is so old, like late in life. It's ridiculous. But I will say, this is what was really twisted. I would be given pills like occasionally for real stuff. And I remember when I was way back on like My Life on the D List, they would have that like shady set doctor. They would give you like that fakey bullshit physical before each season to clear you. And I remember that guy introducing me to something called Provigil, which is kind of an alternative to Adderall. It's speed. And I was like, what's this? And he said, well, I'm going to give you, I think he gave me like Valium. And he said, this is to sleep. And then he said, this pill, we call a 10 a.m. meeting pill. Because if you're groggy from the Valium and you have a meeting at 10 a.m., this will make sure you're peppy and, wide awake.
Provigil, most often used to treat excessive sleepiness caused by. You are the least sleepy person.
Oh, I know. It's actually used for people that have sleep apnea, but was invented for
Narcolepsy.
B-52 bomber pilots, not actresses, okay, and comedians. So, but he would give me those like every year, every 6 months or whatever. And I remember storing them I had this massive safe. And I don't know why, but when I think back, it was like, that must have been my addict in training.
Interesting.
And also, remember back in the day, you'd get 90 Vicodin from a doctor for having a broken nail, 90 Oxy. I didn't do a lot of Oxy because Vicodin was more my era for some reason, my drug era.
A lot of people are not getting out from under these prescription medications. I mean, it's one of the biggest problems in our country right now. Thank God it was prescription and not,
No, I thank God for Alcoholics
fentanyl
Anonymous because when I overdosed, because I tried to take my life and I wrote my husband a note and it was awful and I have tremendous guilt about that. And I actually had to read a lot about.
You said, sorry, you're just too old for me.
I said, call Chloe now. And I honestly was so selfish in my addiction that, well, the cliche thing, I thought his life would be better and easier, et cetera. But I had to read up later and I had a really smart doctor say, there's a lot of research on what happens to the survivor of suicide, especially when it's, a parent and a child or a marriage, which in our case it's both, but he's a little younger. No, but that was something that I learned through recovery because I just was kind of still thinking like, well, maybe it would have been better, and I had to learn so much.
It would have been better for him if you were gone.
Yeah. I thought I've had a good run. I've had a good life. I've done the stuff I kind of want to do. Like,
he's like, I need you to
was
update the will first.
I need you. The living will trust is tight. Let me tell you, it is tight. I'm going to give a lot to your dog, though. In fact, millions. I'm going to give your dog millions, and not to his handler. I'm going to make sure it goes right in his mouth. And so I was very fortunate that she found me a recovery helper because it was during COVID. And they were 12-step based. And I luckily had enough friends in 12-step that I knew it wasn't scary. And I knew there wasn't a leader. So there was never going to be like a Joel Osteen, like some mega church leader. And I knew it was free.
Yep.
So I knew it wasn't going to be a thing like, well, like a Scientology, pay this much and you get the next level of recovery. And I think those are the two saving graces of AA. And I, met the person who came to my house for 4 months every single day, piss tested me. 7 days a week. This person was an angel.
And this is when you attempted.
Yeah. So I was on a psych hold like Brittany. So I was on a 5150 psych hold. And
did someone find you?
Yes, I wasn't able to kill myself. And the bad thing is I thought I took enough to die, and I took enough to be so groggy. I walked out of the bedroom, and then I fell down the stairs. So I didn't even throw to the stuff. I just fell,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, my husband
Sunset
found me.
Boulevard reboot, anyone?
Kind of. Any Kitty has a meeting in a hotel room for it. But anyway, and so I then called a couple doctors who were silly enough to give me their cell phone number. And then I just came clean. And I said, look, I took like 100 benzos and I tried to take my life. But all that happened was I think I have some injuries that probably should get x-rayed because I guess I'm going to live now. And so I went, and when you're honest and you go to the ER and you tell them what you took and that you wrote a note and why you're here, they put you on a psych hold. And so I was under lock and key for 72 hours.
Why do you think you were honest in that moment? Like, do you think it just
It didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like one of the doctors I actually knew pretty well. And the other doctor I'd never seen outside her office, but I trusted her. So the first guy, I was like, well, I know this guy well enough to just be honest.
It's Dr. Drew?
It's Dr. Drew Pinsky, and he's in my car waiting for me. And so the other doctor, I didn't know that you could be put on a psych hold if you said that stuff. I will say, in retrospect, it was a rough 3 days, man. It was a long 3 days. And I was at Cedars, and I was already upset I wasn't in like the Beyonce suite. And I remember looking up, and there was a dust bunny on like the lighting fixture. And I remember legit thinking, I have got to call the concierge because they've got to get Consuela up here or somebody. By the way, that's from Marcus Welby, MD. But anyway, and legit thinking I could like call like to the front desk, And the best part is the woman they had watching me, I legit thought she was like an enthusiastic nurse. And I would continually say to her, and God love her, she never corrected me, Arlene, you can go. You've been sitting here for like hours. And I didn't know, like there was a 12-hour Arlene, and then there was a 12-hour Lisa. And that's what they did. And I also one time just tried to leave and did not know the doors are locked from the outside. So I was like, click, click. Excuse me.
When you got up to leave, where were you going?
I was going to go home and just, fix it myself.
Yeah.
And so I got hooked up with AA people that day. And I went to like 3 Zoom meetings a day. I still do Zoom meetings. I love it. I have a home meeting, and then I have another meeting I do twice a week. And I know I'm sounding like, well, culty, but it's not a cult. Don't be afraid.
And what did your brain resist anything when I first went into 12
No,
step?
I have to say, once I had bottomed out that bad where I was on a psych hold, I went, I'm done.
Yep.
Also, like I said, I was 60.
Mm-hmm.
No, wait, 59. I was 59. So I'm like, what am I doing? Well, like I said, who becomes a junkie at 56?
Mm-hmm.
And then at 59, like wants to be like playing around with that crap.
But when you look back, because I go, how could I get addicted to something?
Right.
What happened to me, 6 months ago, or it was, brewing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
me? Substances? Like out of nowhere? And then I look back and I'm like, well, there was the food, and then there was online shopping, and then there
I have
was
food issues.
Men.
I have man
it's
issues.
It's been whack-a-moling,
for sure.
building towards this for a while.
Yeah, look, my man issues were my 20s and 30s, for sure. My food issues, I told you earlier, started very, very young. And that's stuff that I kind of felt like wasn't an issue anymore. So there was maybe a little time between the food issues kind of subsiding and the pills kicking in. So I think that fooled me into thinking I'm not just doing whack-a-mole, or I'm not just transferring minute to minute to minute. But yeah, I don't know if I have a comedy addiction, but my instinct, I remember when I did a 50-city tour, I remember thinking I'm going to do 80 next year. Just to do it if I can, and then being on some of those gigs, like, I am just exhausted. I do not know why I thought this was a thing. No one asked me to do 80 cities. This was all my idea.
And when someone, how do you know when you're addicted? What helps me is, number 1, when it makes your life unmanageable. Number 2, when it stops being a choice.
Yeah.
And number 3, when it stops being fun.
Yeah.
So when I was doing that kind of touring, I was like, this is the most fun thing in the world to me.
Yeah.
And it's not fun right now.
Yeah.
It stops feeling like a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, ugh, that's when it's defined as addiction. Like I went to a Workaholics Anonymous meeting once. Everyone was late.
Oh my God, they're busy.
Everyone was late. And of course, it was all people that were kind of known in our business. And we all got in trouble because the first thing you say is, Kathy, I love your work.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to say work.
Good.
You're not allowed to reward
That's
people
cool.
for it. But the way that people would talk about, there was one woman who was addicted to scrapbooking. And she would wake up in the middle of the night and be scrapbooking, and she would have to cancel things. And she missed her daughter's wedding because she scrapbooked,
Yeah.
And so I was like, and it sounds ridiculous, but then someone goes, oh, you're addicted to, making drunk people laugh. Like, why are you driving into the Comedy Store on a Tuesday night at midnight? You don't need to do. So
right.
It really, the shopping thing got me.
Yeah.
Definitely over the pandemic, the online shopping thing.
Was it clothing or was it house stuff or what was it?
Well, moving into a house and then that justifies it. You're like, well, I need to fill this wall. I need to fill this thing. And I need, and then I think that because the way that my previous addictions helped me justify my future ones, where I was like, oh, I've always had body image stuff and I'm finally in a healthy weight. So I need to buy new clothes.
Yeah.
So they fit, because if I try on something that's small from when I was starving myself, this is going to trigger me. I just had every excuse in the book.
Yeah.
I never spend money on stuff like this. I'm always taking care of other people, never myself,
Yeah.
And then buying stuff for other people was a big thing. Well, this person's birthday's coming up. I have to get them 6 different pairs of cowboy boots because they said they like horses. I just was like, it was just the dopamine rush.
Right.
It was just and then the shame hit of when you get it and you realize, oh God, I spent more money than I need to on this. Now I got to return it. It was just any way to stay out of having to think about, feel my feelings.
Yeah.
Anyway,
a lot of girls in my meetings have the shopping thing. It's very common for women to have that particular crossover. And I would say pretty much all of us have food issues.
Yep.
Like I remember my sponsor saying, don't worry about talking about food issues in a meeting because pretty much every other girl, and she goes, and by pretty much, I mean every other girl has it too. So I wonder what the bro one is. The bro, like what's the guy
I think
version?
guys have it now too. I mean, bless their heart, the guys that are keto and they're only eating 3 jalapenos.
Like gym guys,
they're going
and they have this much protein.
I'll only have this protein powder.
I have to be built up to this measurement of my bicep.
I think guys have dysmorphia now too. I think guys have. I went to dinner with a guy. I remember this was like I was dating like a year ago, and have a packet of protein and pudding. I'm like, what are like, and he can't have water with his food and there's no salt and he's measuring stuff. And I'm like, that's that, and the CrossFit and the,
I've turned into, and this is also still late in life, you can laugh. I've turned into a TikTok addict. Twitter has become so toxic.
Yeah.
And Twitter is just so much like hate
Twitter
and
feels
bros
like
and
being on C-SPAN.
Yeah.
It's just like dorks dorking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I need a color. I need a dance. Can you say it while you're dancing?
Right. I know. But I have to say, I find TikTok much more calming because my algorithm is so dorky. It's puppy videos. I have some puppy videos. And then there's the puppy video. Like I can watch dog videos. This is really like racist of me to say. I can't get enough Karen videos. I want to see one in the wild. I have not seen my first in-person Karen yet. By the way, I'll go to jail because I'll be like the one that wants to fight Karen. But the stuff they say.
You need to spend more time in Trader Joe's, Kathy. I will help you find
Walmart.
the Karens.
Apparently Walmart is why I'm not seeing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I love doing my TikTok, but I'm shocked at how I'm not 12 and yet I'm on TikTok a lot.
I think you're the majority. It is not just 12-year-olds anymore. I know.
By the way, I know it's the Chinese government, and I know they have scans of my face, and they, I know.
Yeah, the other day I logged in and it said agree to the new terms of service, and I couldn't even get to them.
Yeah,
it's like, am I a CRISPR baby now?
Yeah,
you can't. There's no way. The terms of service is there, just taking our face. If you guys make a robot of me, can you at least make it not a Karen?
Right.
If you're using my face,
when AI Kathy comes out, just don't have her even know the word Trump. Just have her. And by the way, in my new show, I'm so excited. I didn't mean to do this. I don't even mention Trump once.
That's awesome.
It just doesn't come up.
No.
It's kind of been there, done that.
No need.
And I just have other shit on my mind.
No need.
And so I hope no one's disappointed.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure they'll be refreshed.
I just think it's
when people bring it up now on stage, there's like
what hasn't been said.
Yeah.
What hasn't been seen.
Nothing.
But anyway, that's my fear is that AI Kathy will get more heads and there'll be more, and I'm just like, no, Have AI Kathy do other topics.
I also think that TikTok makes you realize the lizard brain we're up against because it is the Pavlovian, it's the Skinner box. I
Right.
mean, it's like there are these videos, is it a cake?
Yeah.
And it's just a dog lying there, and then you see someone take a knife to it, you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And then it's a cake, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
It's adrenaline. Like,
No, I'm terrified because there was a cat abuse video going around on Twitter and people kept posting about it. And I thought, if I accidentally even see one frame of this thing, I'm in bed for a month. No, I'm
that's
really
the other
bad
thing.
that way.
A lot, me too. I'm so sensitive to that stuff. And a lot of people send me these horse videos. They're like, this is so cute. It's normally abuse and people just don't know it, you know? So a lot of the animal videos really like stress me out.
Yeah, I can't. I feel like a bad animal advocate because I feel like I should watch this whole video so I can do something. And a lot of times it's their rescue story.
Yeah.
And I just feel guilt about it, but I am like, click, get me out of here because I do not recover from that.
Yeah,
I don't recover.
Me too. What is that? We're sensitive people.
Look, the good thing is we are already rescuing animals and we will continue to and support organizations that do. And so I kind of like, all right, in that case, I'm going to move on because I just can't.
Well, I could talk to you forever.
I could talk to you for into the sunset.
And like you are so like breezy and grounded and present. And
I love you because you're so smart and funny. You're not just funny. You're super smart and funny.
Oh, gosh. I don't feel that way, but thank you for saying
That's okay. I do.
Being pregnant makes you a moron. Like, I'm dumb.
That is not the case.
No, I'm a dumb person.
You were pretty smart today.
That's very nice of you to say. I try to, when Kathy's on, you try to just get out of her way.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I end these super awkwardly, but everyone get tickets. Mirage, October 6th. Kathy Griffin.
Use me as your excuse to go to Vegas. Use me.
Let's do it. There's a big globe there now.
Yeah.
And you know that in Vegas, all the homeless people live underground in the tunnel, so you don't have to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're called the mole people.
Yeah, I know. I've seen,
Google that.
I have seen, I still watch Intervention. I still watch Intervention.
I love you. Don't ride elephants. Kathy Griffin, I love you.